Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fearless with Mary. I am your host, Mary Tibbetts, and I am so excited that you are here with me today. In today's podcast, I am sitting down solo to go over who I am and reintroduce myself. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I am so excited that you're here. And I know I always say that in the intro, but I am very excited that you're here. Okay. So today I am flying solo. I am doing a let me reintroduce myself segment of Fearless with Mary because I was going through all of the podcasts that I've done. The very first one that I did was how important it is to tell your story, but I feel like I left so much out of my story. So I want to come on. I want to give you guys a whole backstory so you know who you're dealing with, who you're listening to, so then we can have an even better connection. And when you see my new podcast come up, you'll be like, oh, I know her. She, this, and this. So let's get started. We are going to go back to, well, we're going to go way back. Not to like the day I was born, but we are going to go back. So when I was in grade 7, my parents got divorced. And back then, it wasn't really like mental health. So if your parents got divorced, which was a lot of parents got divorced back then, you just kind of dealt with it and you moved on, and it is what it is, and you learn to live with it. So that was grade 7. High school hit. It was time to start partying and drinking and doing all of the things that I did back then. We're not going to digress into that. Anyways, and then when I was 20, I got pregnant with my oldest son, Nolan, who I love to death. He is the first love of my life. I have 3 loves of my life, if that's possible, but I do. So I had Nolan when I was 21, and I was a single mom for, I would say, like an actual single mom, I would say for 4 years. And when I say actual single mom, I mean I didn't have financial support. I didn't have anything like that. I was blessed because my mom and my stepdad let me live with them. Let us live with them. And then I had actually met my now husband when Nolan was 1. And then we dated and ended up moving in. And well, not my now husband, my only husband, Matthew. And then when I was 20, oh God, how far apart are they? They're like 5 years apart. I'm horrible. I don't even remember. So then when I was 25, I was living with my husband. I got pregnant right before he left to go overseas to Afghanistan. He was in the military. And I got pregnant. We lived in a little house downtown. And I had my youngest son, Wesley, while Matthew was still overseas in Afghanistan. My second love of my life. Well, I guess he's my third love of my life because Nolan was the first love of my life. Then I met Matthew, and he's like my love of my life. And then Wesley came along, so he's my third love of my life. Because I love my boys more than anything. So let me see. So I had Wesley when Matthew was in Afghanistan. He decided to come early, so Matt wasn't here for the birth of him. So that was awesome. And then, so he came home, he met him for, I believe it was 2 weeks, and then he had to go back because it was war and he had to go back. So I had 2 little kids. My husband's son came over a lot at that point in time. And so I had 3 boys that I was dealing with. We lived in a very little house. We bought a house in that 2 weeks that he was home. And then when he got back in August, beginning of September, we moved into our new home, bigger house, all that other stuff. So after I had actually had Nolan, we're going to backtrack a little bit. So after I had Nolan, I actually went to school, and I became a lab assistant. So I worked in the hospitals. I worked in the hospitals. I had a career doing all of that. And then when it was time for me to go back to work after having Wesley, I had Wesley. I was working in an office when I got pregnant with Wesley. I had done school with Nolan when I had Nolan, did my lab assistant, worked in the hospitals, and then it was hard because it was shift work. I worked at one of the bigger hospitals here in Edmonton, so I actually ended up getting an office job. I was working at an office job, had Wesley, decided after having Wesley that I was going to actually go back to working in the hospitals. So I did that. I worked at a few of them. I worked in microbiology, all of that good stuff. And then shift work again. You know, you have little kids, you want to be home with them as much as you can, but it didn't really end up working. And with my husband being in the military, or he had actually just gotten out of the military, he was now a sheriff. So it was, I just needed to be at home more. But I did work in the hospitals after I had Wesley for a few years. And then I went back to working in the office. I was accounts receivable, accounts payable. And I'm like, gosh, this still isn't working. I really hate working for people. I would way rather work for myself. Took courses, learned how to become a bookkeeper, opened up my own business. So I opened up my business and it took off like wildfire, and I had enough clients that I could just work from home, do bookkeeping virtually. Some of them I did go into their office once in a while, because this is long before Zoom and all of that other stuff. So I would go in, but I would be able to set my schedule, be able to pick up the kids from school. I was like very hands-on, wanted to be around my kids as much as I possibly could, made it work. And then in the summer when they were off, it was nice because I would just do bookkeeping in the evening after they went to bed, but we could do stuff all day. Like we could go down to the river, we could go out to the Pembina River, do the floating there, we could go to the spray park, skate park, all of that good stuff. So then after that, we moved into this house, and I still had my bookkeeping company, but we moved into a much bigger house, so we needed a little bit more extra income. Matthew was working out of town at this point a lot, so I got a full-time position, and I was still doing bookkeeping, and yeah, it was a lot. So I scaled back on my bookkeeping clients because I thought in my head, oh, this will be better, I just want to work for somebody. So that lasted about a year and a half. Keep in mind, I still have pretty much my full bookkeeping client roster. So that lasted about a year and a half, 2 years. And then in 2017, we had a very, very hard year. We had 5 deaths of people very close to us in the family pass away, including my husband's best friend, who was also like a brother to me, who I love to death. And I ended up having to have a major surgery, and there was just a lot of shit that went down. It was so crazy. And I always wanted to open a flower shop. Always. It's like, oh my goodness. I remember when I decided that I was going to, and I did the announcement once everything was all set up. People that we used to hang out with and do dinners and stuff with, were messaging me saying, "Oh, you finally got your flower shop. You finally got your flower shop." I was like, "Yeah, I always wanted to have a brick and mortar flower shop. It was awesome. I wanted it so badly." And then what happened? 2017. So went through everything, did the announcement, and then August 20th, 2018, my flower shop doors opened after I was the contractor on it and hired everybody, did all the, I was like, I was the project manager, I shouldn't say contractor. I was the project manager on it. I hired everybody myself, dealt with everything myself, did all the permitting, everything all by myself. It was wild. It was awesome. Some of it I even did from California because we were there for, my youngest Wesley is a dancer. So we were there for dance with his dance school. It was wild. I left to a half-built shop and then came back to it pretty much being ready to open the doors. It was crazy. And then I was in business for a year and a half and the dreaded, COVID hit, and it was me and one other girl that was working at the shop, and I had a couple people that would come in and help once in a while. And then COVID hit and the floral industry went wild. And so I ended up having to hire more people. I had to get a bigger cooler. The shop was crazy. It made money like crazy. I won't lie, like I didn't even know a flower shop can make that amount of money. It was awesome. And that, not that COVID was awesome. I'm just saying business-wise for me as a business owner at that time, it was great financially. And then everything kind of reopened up. It slowed down, all the other stuff. It went back to normal. It is what it is. But as the time kind of went on, you have a brick and mortar, and then you're putting all of the time and energy and all of your mental power, your everything into this business. And my husband always used to laugh how it was my second marriage. Not laugh, but he would joke around and be like, "Oh yeah, your second marriage over there." I'm like, "Yeah, but," and that's exactly what it felt like. And when you're a business owner, especially of like a brick and mortar or an office or something like that, that is actually what it feels like. It feels like you're married to it if you don't do it properly, right? I was very much under the impression that I had to do everything, which I didn't. But then I got very lucky and I had the most amazing staff who took a lot off my plate. It was great. I could do a lot of the back end stuff. They would do a lot of the front end stuff. It was amazing. And then April 17th of last year, my world came crashing down around me pretty much. I hadn't been feeling good. Like it'd been a few months. I would actually even say like 6 months I hadn't really been feeling great. I knew after Christmas I didn't feel good. At Christmas time I didn't feel good. After Valentine's Day I really didn't feel good, but I just thought that I was run down because, you're running a business, you're doing all this, you're trying to go to the gym, you're trying to do everything. But then it ended up we went to New York because I had won a scholarship to go and train with somebody down there. Got back, and I was not good when we were there. Got back, and then Wesley had to have his wisdom teeth out on April 16th. And I remember the dates just because how can you not? And I was a smoker at the time, and every time that I would put a cigarette to my mouth, my arm would kind of do this weird, I don't know, it was the long way around to come into my mouth. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, I don't know why it's doing that. I better just like quit smoking and scale back on that. Yeah. And then April 16th, he went in for his wisdom teeth, and I was hungry after he wanted to go for a milkshake, and I said, okay. So we went to McDonald's. I ordered the double cheeseburger, whatever it is, with fries and a Diet Coke. It's my standard. That's what I would always get for the whole 3 times I would go to McDonald's a year. And I ate it and I didn't feel good. I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And he's high. He's on the couch because they'd given him so much pain medication. His face is swollen and he's got ice pack on. And oh my God, what a disaster. And then Matthew came home from dinner and from work, and we had dinner and did all of that. And then I remember it was I would get really hot, and I actually thought I was going through menopause, which is strange due to the fact that, I had a partial hysterectomy. So I'm like, I don't know if that's what it is, but that must be what it is, because I'm 44, or how old was I? I was 44. Anyway, so I'm like, yep, that's got to be what it is. Hate the doctors, don't want to go there, because I think most of the time they're just full of shit, which they are. So then it was so hot in the house because we had it cranked up because it was so cold outside. And so I came downstairs. Wesley was on the couch. Matt and I don't sleep together because he snores. He has his own bedroom. He was in his bedroom, and I came down the stairs to turn down the heat to go back upstairs to my room. And as I went to go up the stairs, I had a seizure on the right side of my body, perfectly aligned on the right side of my body. It was the strangest thing. I don't go to the doctors. So I messaged Matt and I was like, hey, he was sleeping. I texted him though, and I said, hey, this is what happened. I think in the morning we need to try and get in to go see our family doctor, because I don't think that something's wrong. And he kind of knew something was wrong because I had been complaining about it a little, not complaining, but I was just kind of like, I just feel off. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that morning, like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't remember what time it was, comes in, stands over me in my bed and says, get up, we're going to the hospital. Like, you need to go get to the hospital. They do all the tests. Thank God I had seizures while I was at the hospital. I know that sounds crazy, but holy, it's a good place to have it. And then they can actually see what's happening with you. They hooked me up with a neurologist that day. Anyways, long story short, I end up getting diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I go for treatment in this past October, my first treatment. I don't know if I'm doing the second treatment. I'm leaning towards not doing it. There's other stuff that goes along with that. That's a whole other episode. But so now I am here. In between all of this stuff and me getting diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I had to make a very, very tough, sad, heart-wrenching decision to sell my brick and mortar, to sell my flower shop. And so we did. We sold it as of July 31st. Very happy and sad day all at the same time. And then we converted our woodworking shop in the basement into a floral studio, so I can just do large weddings and events out of my house. And it's wonderful, and I get to do that. And then I went back to school and I learned all of the things, and I've been kind of back and forth trying to figure out exactly what it is that I want to do when I grow up. I took a life mentoring, business coach, business mentoring courses to learn how to do that. All of those things. So now I have my podcast. I have my coaching / mentor business that I do. And then I also have my studio, and I do public speaking. So motivational speaking. We're getting there. We're getting there on the motivational speaking. So this is just kind of an update as to what's going on with me. I have been in business for a very, very, very long time. I know how to run a business. I'm really good at it, actually. And so I just felt that it was right for me to move into that direction. I've met so many wonderful people since I've been diagnosed with MS. It's so crazy. Between my podcast, I have a business coach. I went on a retreat. I got to meet some of the most amazing people. I've made some new friends, lost a few along the way, which just ends up happening, unfortunately. So yeah, that is kind of me in a nutshell. I am, for the most part, obviously I'm not going to share everything with you. For the most part, I am an open book for the most part. And yeah, I just thought that I could give you guys a little bit of a backstory. So I am a mom of 2 adult children now. They are big boys. I have a 23-year-old and an 18-year-old, soon to be 24 and 19, which is absolutely fucking crazy. I have a wonderful husband, Matthew, who is my biggest fan on the face of the planet and supports me pretty much through everything. Yeah, that he's gonna actually come on the podcast at some point, and so you guys can meet him and I can introduce him. I am a businesswoman, I am an entrepreneur, and I am a kick-ass fearless woman. I am an MS warrior, you name it. I am that person, and I am so grateful and so happy that I get to sit here and I actually get to say that. And I am comfortable in my skin enough to be able to say, I am these things. I am a kick-ass business person. I am an MS warrior. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a friend. I can sit here and I can actually say those and know these things are true about myself. And I am choosing to live my life fearlessly. I want to teach other people how to do that. So make sure that you listen to these podcasts. Make sure you like, make sure you share, and make sure you subscribe to my podcast. And then you will get to listen and learn how to become fearless in your life. And it's actually amazing, and it just opens so many doors. So aside from that, I just wanted to hop on and just give you guys an update on who I am and what I do, and how grateful I am for all of you that take the time to listen to my podcast and share in this crazy thing we call life. I look forward to talking to you guys later, and I look forward to you guys listening to my upcoming podcast. So have a great day, everybody.